but this for us is an icon of what technology does without realizing. You go to Google and you search for something in your language and it asks you, didn't you mean this? No, I didn't. I actually typed it correctly. And the same thing with spell checkers, there's that message. It's like what a teacher did to you in school, like, not this, please. Please do something different. And this is a big message also of trying to now work at providing all of the software components necessary to provide a good environment for African languages. So in terms of the second category that I mentioned, activation, you'll see that these are some things that have happened earlier in other languages, but really fun and good projects. Things like terminology creation that we can use in translation. The terminology project was really about software localization terminology. So things commonly occurring in GUIs and help documents, all sorts of GUI components, and activate and deactivate and download, and these sort of terms that are hard to formalize if they've never been formalized. I mean, you will know from Irish, it's, you know, the first time you say, okay, yes, I'll translate it, and you get to the second sentence and you're stuck on some word. And it breaks your speed, which means it stops being fun. And it also affects quality. So we actually had a project where we formed a list of about 2,500 English terms with definitions. So that people who might have thought they knew what it meant would have a really nice definition for it. And this term list is also available. I can put you into contact with the guy who formed that. All of the work we've done is under a liberal licensing, allowing distribution and reuse. And people would then not only provide terms, but also translate the definitions, or provide a definition in their own language, which can probably help them also with some education aspects. It will help general translators maybe, and so on. And I'm quite excited about that. And in my second part later today, I'll talk a little bit about what we've done in terms of terminology. I know that Thea wants to see some of the terminology features that we've built into our CAT tools. The second thing here on the list is CAT tools. I'm not going to talk about it a lot now because I'm going to go into detail a bit later. You might have heard of Oodle or Friedel, and these are the main tools that we've developed. Why did we do that? We've seen that the tools we've developed, those are tools that we've developed before the African Network for Localization in South Africa. They've become very popular ways of translating things like Firefox and OpenOffice. And people have really, taken that up as a way, especially in under-resourced languages, as a very nice way to do that. So we wanted to really extend them, improve them, and continue to make them attractive also to a wider audience. So, it doesn't help if they're only attractive to people in Africa. We need everybody to be excited about them, and that's why I'm very happy to be here today, because if they're only interesting for people in Africa, they won't get the traction that they need. I need French people to be testing my tools and tell me if they work correctly. Because I need to draw developers and volunteers from all over the world. Then we developed 3 spell checkers. Now that's 3 from 2000. It's a bit demotivating if you put it that way, but we had people developing the spell checker in Southern Africa, in Eastern Africa, and in Western Africa. These are people with very good ties with academia. They're involved at universities or have very close ties to university. They've already held some workshops about how they did it, how it works. So they had some postgrad students now starting to work on spell checking in new languages. So we're quite excited that these might have built some capacity and excitement about natural language processing. And obviously, then at least for those 3 languages now, there is a freely available spell checker, which I think is something really good. And then we decided it doesn't help that we talk about these things. We're actually going to localize a few applications in a few languages. We're localizing the tools that we produce, and then we're looking at Firefox as something really popular, something very well known, very high quality piece of software, and something that we've got a lot of expertise in how to do that localization. So we've made quite some good progress. About 3-4 languages are already complete, and now starting to talk with Mozilla about incorporating it into following versions. We're also looking at the mobile Firefox version. It's called Fennec. I don't know if you've seen that, which run on some mobile phones. Obviously, it's more of an upcoming thing and future-looking project. But you might have heard that cell phones are actually way more popular or more common in Africa than you might think. I should have checked some stats, but the penetration is actually very impressive. Most people in Africa have cell phones. It's quite scary. Like most adults, something like, Solomon, can you remember some figures? I can't remember, but it's quite high. I think 60, 70, 80% of adults in Africa have a cell phone, or have like one within a few meters of them, like in the family or something like that. So a lot of people doing research in communication technology and IT for development are looking at mobile applications and so on. So we also thought, okay, let's do a mobile browser. It's not a lot of work after you've done Firefox. And we're quite interested in terms of opening up possibilities and people's thinking of what's possible. Then we had some training events. Who of you are involved in TILP? Sorry, help me again, what does it stand for?
The Institute of Localisation Professionals.
Thank you, I keep on forgetting what it stands for. The Institute for Localisation Professionals. We developed some components now for training locally in 2 sites already, and one of the reasons I'm here in Ireland now is to work with Solomon on a manual now for Amharic, the language of Ethiopia, with the idea of being able to present a TILP course in these locations with also a module for localizers of that local language. So we've already had an event in Egypt. I think that was 2 years ago already, and last year we had one in South Africa training a few developers and quite a few translators. So these are the projects we're hoping to also look at. We talked a bit about it. I'm not directly involved in this project, but talking about doing a module for TILP and contributing it to the curriculum about open source localization. For a lot of languages now, if you want to become a localizer, you need to do FOSS stuff first, because you know, it's the easiest way to showcase your work and to get experience, and often no one else is interested in it. Then about sustaining what we do, these are some of the things that we've looked at. We do all of our work in free software. Now, I haven't said, but we are sponsored by the IDRC, and this is actually one of their funding requirements, that all of the software developed is under a free and open source license. All of the content we produce are under Creative Commons license, so we're able to share it and distribute it, and anyone can do anything with it, including printing and selling and whatever they want. I think selling, I have to check. But that's a principle. So this manual we are writing now is freely available. We believe it will be very applicable to other languages of Ethiopia and so on, and we're actually hoping that people will take it and do something better with it, or maybe even write a better version than what we were able to do this week. Hopefully not to our shame, but to our pride. And then I talked about policy things before. We are trying to show people what can be done in terms of handling complex language issues, why localized software doesn't need to cause ethnic conflict and loss of human life and things like that. But also just like trying to do a map of where is their language policy in Africa, where is their IT policy in which countries, and where is there actually something like a localization or a local language IT policy or something like that, and trying to actually influence people. For example, we've got links with ACALAN, the Academy for African Languages. They're quite a high-profile organization, and they've got some people that used to be in politics now there. So for us it's an interesting link to try to really influence governments. Not that we think governments will necessarily start doing localization, but they might just write one policy document somewhere that change things gradually and so on. And that can make quite a difference. And then we're doing some networking activities. We'll be having an annual meeting of all the partners in April or May to talk again about our work, to look at new points of collaboration. You know, last time we talked about how can we get the keyboards and fonts into more places, and we said, okay, well, let's bundle them with the translation tools. So anyone installing our translation tools will be able to type most West African languages. And then we are encouraged to publish also academically and so on. It's not everyone's baby in the network, but for some of the people already in academia, they're actually encouraged to attend academic conferences and talk about what they do. Because obviously through academia is a very interesting way to just carry the news of what we're doing. So these are some of the sustaining activities, and we hope that by not just giving one localized version of Firefox, and there it is, and you can go do with it what you want, we think about how do we actually advocate this. As part of the localization budget, there's actually a specific budget for marketing. To tell the teams, well, we're not going to pay you for translation, but we'll pay you to print CDs and t-shirts and posters and things like that. So that you can actually go do and make a really grand splash in your country, and